Are you guys ready to get into these? Boy, these changes are wild. There's a lot of changes. We'll start from the top here and then make our way down through the patch. I'll try to give you a good summary of everything.
Testament.
What a bandito.
More like bestament.
I'm trying to read, chat. Quit interrupting me. Thanks very much. So, as always, I say this before we look at any patch notes. Do not freak out, okay? Everybody calm down. When a patch comes out, there's a few things you have to think about, right? You have to think about the overall changes in the patch, and you can never consider one change in a vacuum and think this is the patch, right? So if one character got one nerf, you cannot just think, oh, this one nerf happened or this one buff happened or whatever. You have to instead consider the entirety of the patch and all of the changes. The most important changes in the last patch were system changes and how they interacted with characters, right? So remember, these system changes are going to be huge and they will affect the game a lot. Even if they're buffs or changes down below, do not reflect them. So let's start at the top. Roman cancels. Canceling into normal or special moves from a Roman cancel now triggers a slowdown effect and limits the tension gauge cost. Now, I don't know exactly what limits means in this case. Does this mean like it goes down slower? Does this mean it costs less? Does this mean that it's a cheaper meter option or whatever? Like it's kind of hard to exactly say, right? We don't really know what this is, but this could be massive. And it sounds like it's off of moves that you fast RC, maybe, right? Canceling into normal or special moves from a Roman cancel. Maybe they're making that cheaper, right? Who knows? Like, this is hard to say. Roman cancels now trigger a slowdown effect when canceling into a normal or special move. The slowdown effect is only triggered when in close proximity to the opponent. Now causes the tension gauge to gradually deplete instead of immediately, and does not apply to YRC. So Roman cancels, all of them except YRC, now slowly make the tension gauge deplete instead of just immediately deleting that 50. I'm not sure if it does anything particularly cool, unless it means like you can spend your gauge. Like maybe let's say you have like 60 meter, right? If you could like RC and then immediately super, so you can like spend your bar twice maybe. Yeah, it also might delay the meter penalty. I'm actually really curious about that. Until we see exactly how this works, it's hard to say exactly how it will impact the game, I think, until we see exactly how it works, but it is pretty interesting. Anyway, BRC, make the timing for canceling into a normal or a special move faster so you can more quickly do that. And that might also mean people are going to do it on accident a bit too, right? PRC made the timing canceling a bit faster. The slowdown effect from Purple Roman Cancel now ends when an attack lands. This is big. As you guys know, some characters have some really strong stuff with slowdown, right? So if you do close slash into Garuda with Potemkin, or you do like, I don't know, button into Behemoth with Goldlewis, any character who has something that is tight given the slowdown from PRC, this is not a thing anymore, right? So they're making it so that you don't maintain the slowdown. The slowdown is really strong. I'm actually surprised to see no change to how BRC is. I think BRC is incredibly strong right now too. Red RC no longer applies any type of scaling when the shockwave hits. Not surprising since they're nerfing damage overall. Well, it also matters too. If it costs, let's say 50 meter to fast RC, but then it only drains down to 25, so it's cheaper. Red RC needs some reason to be used, right? Like, why would I just do a red RC that costs more unless it doesn't scale? Counter hit. Some moves such as standing Ps and crouching Ks, they have a full list of these, now trigger a slowdown effect on counter hit, making combos not normally possible available. Yeah, it's not a level change like some people thought. This is big. These are the moves that have that property now, which is standing P, standing K, crouching P, crouching K, jumping P, jumping K. So all your kick and punches will now trigger a slowdown effect on counter hit. So we talked a little bit about this when they showed off the new Season 2 stuff. It means that you will probably get new confirms on characters with your standing Ps or crouching Ps into close slashes or into other lights. So your character might be able to do like crouching P into like 2K 2D links that you maybe didn't have before off of counter hit. And the other implication of it is Gatlings. So Gatlings that normally don't work will probably work on counter hit now. Let's say it's 5K 2D with Geo. Something like 5K 2D might combo now on counter hit 5K with the new slowdown effect on counter hit. That's pretty nice. So a lot of characters will probably have this. Yeah, maybe Anji 2P 6H or something like that. You know, Millia 5P 6H. You guys are getting the idea. Faultless defense. We looked into finding ways to improve the issue where sometimes a normal attack would come out when inputting faultless defense. I'm sure a lot of you have been counter hit trying to FD. However, due to the high chance of losing control responsiveness when changing the current input method, We addressed this issue by adding a faultless defense button. They were trying to mess with it, and they were like, you know, we can't figure out a way to make this happen without making your controls feel like you're doing stuff you're not meaning to do. So we'll just add a button to the game that does it. And decrease the amount of tension gauge depleted when blocking attacks. This is a huge buff to FD again. They buffed FD again in this version, after it got a really sizable buff in the last big patch. So if your character is a strike throw character who cares about FD, this is a really big nerf to your character's overall offense probably. And the same thing, especially with how meter is now potentially being very important, right? It's great for characters who don't really care about FD. So like you have hard to block mix-ups, like Ino is a good example maybe, right? Or Leo in back turn stance, although honestly FD is pretty good against them. Or honestly, maybe the biggest winner is Zato. Zato doesn't really care about FD as a mechanic because, you know, you're just blocking Eddie and then he can do whatever pressure he wants behind it. It also really helps him because, you know, he needs the FD on defense himself to escape. Revised input mechanism, right? From moves with the same input on the ground and aerial version. So a good example is Tatami here, right? You can do this on the ground. You can also do this in the air. As a measure to make the usage of the grounded and aerial moves distinct, for some characters, when a special move was input as a jump started, the aerial version would come out at a low height midair if an upwards direction was input. This resulted in strict input requirements, so we made the ground version activate even when upwards inputs are included. I think most people think this is to make it so that you cannot tiger knee as easily. I imagine instead you would just do up or up forward or up back and then do the motion. And moves that do not have a ground version, you should be able to tiger knee as normal. Also, honestly, I didn't really like how tiger knees felt in the game personally anyway. I don't know if this is just a me thing. I've talked about this a lot, but I almost always would rather jump and then do the motion in this game because the tiger knees in this game felt very weird to do. They talk about the input priority for the moves and then what you're supposed to get to help clean it up and basically make everything feel a little bit smoother on the input reader with how you're getting certain attacks. Special moves canceling into overdrives before coming out. This change, although it has several purposes, is mainly intended to make it easier to perform overdrives when part of the input is the same as a special move. This like Kara cancel super idea. I imagine this will sound really good, but only certain interactions of it will be particularly strong. But it'll probably help with most characters' routing. Input priority for normal moves. So under certain circumstances, inputs for crouching and command normals will now be prioritized over standing normals. Previously, when inputting 2S during the hit stop of close standing S, if you release down too quickly, far standing S would come out. I had this happen all the time where like you try to do crouching S or you try to do FD or you try to do something and then you just get far slash instead. So you do close slash far slash and you're like, wait, what? I didn't do that. So yeah, this is a good change, I think. Just makes the game feel a little bit more smooth. There's quite a few changes like this. Jumping attacks. Many other characters have less utility for their jumping Ps compared to the other aerial attacks. We've adjusted the blowback effect on hit, making it easier to convert into a combo. This is a universal change you're going to see for every character. I'm going to say out loud, this is a universal change on jumping P throughout the entire patch note. And what I mean by that is jumping Ps will suction you closer so that characters can do stuff like jumping P, jumping P, jumping P. You can potentially link other air moves or do a special move off of it and you're chilling, right? Or bring them down to the ground with them and then do a grounded attack and then do whatever you want after. This will probably, I assume, help most characters. And traditionally in Geared, rapid jumping Ps are a thing for a bunch of characters. It's one of those things that if you're like a Ram player, this probably will not affect Ram as much as it's nice for other characters, but at the same time, it probably will still help her, right? There's a few changes like that, which is this dash cancel change. Previously available only to some characters, all characters with dashes can now dash cancel their standing K and close standing S. This is a huge change because the characters who have this have unique routing or combos from all of this. So yeah, if you're a character, like somebody brings up Ino, counter hit close slash into hover dash SD will like combo now, right? That's something that she can do. Or close slash, hover dash, FD, empty, low, or throw, or whatever is now something that she has. This is a really big buff for a lot of characters. You probably also maybe might even be able to do some Karas with the dash. That's probably pretty good, but this is not a great change if you're a character like Soul or Geo or Mei who already have this, right? If your character already has this, then this is the cascading universal access to utility that you already own, or Potemkin or Nago, right? Because they cannot dash. So those two characters do not benefit from it either. So you're just like, damn. Also, another thing to note about Roman cancels in general, they are going to be incredibly powerful and more scary for the entire cast because these characters have 5k and close slash dash cancels. So having those moves into RC is really strong. Overall damage adjustments. Some highly used moves with great versatility have had their damage decreased. They've done this again. Overdrives that work well as counterattacks have had their attack startup, recovery, etc. revised with their damage remaining unchanged to make it easier to punish when blocked. Common thing in this game where you like block a super, especially in the air, and it's just like, oh, I air blocked Nago's super. Okay, I guess he's gonna fucking Fukyo at me and then smoke me. So the objective was to make them have more recovery so they're easy to punish, or worse startup so that they're easier to bait out, so that then you can still, you know, play around them a bit better. They have high damage still, but you have additional access to play around them a bit more. When the player inputs Psych Burst before the opponent's overdrive activates, the Psych Burst will no longer be canceled. This is a big one because it means you can burst out of situations where you're being supered a little bit easier. Some overdrives are now affected by prior movement, such as dash momentum, which is cool. They made some changes with dash momentum in general. Dash, when inputting using the dash button, inputting back directly after the action begin no longer performs a backdash. Well. The so-called Arxis backdash, right? Making dash blocking easier. You love to see it. Wall stick. When wall stick initiates simultaneously with the super flash of certain overdrives, the wall stick effect will now be prioritized, which I think is just to make these situations a bit more consistent, right? And the same thing with his wall break thing. Fix the bug where there would be a variation in the distance between the characters after the wall break sequence, depending on the conditions, such as the stage when the wall break was triggered by an overdrive. Having a variable distance between the two characters and starting after a wall break is, you don't really want that. I think you want that scenario to be consistent, right? So that feels better. Throws. Fix the bug where the risk level would deplete more than intended when activating a Roman cancel during a throws during certain conditions. Also, honestly, throw in RC is not that common for the most part anyway. It's very rarely worth the resources. This one too, characters now switches directions to face the opponent when canceling some jumping normals into another move late in the animation. This can be hard to do to make characters turn around in this game, right? This is a nice little change, making it so your character actually turns around, because you hate to see it when that doesn't happen. And fix the bug where sometimes only crouching moves could be performed under certain conditions when you're landing from a jump. And then hurt boxes, they are adjusted some ways to make them a bit easier. So we made it through the system changes. Now again, the system changes have big implications on so many characters, especially because we don't even know exactly what the RC change is. So with that being said, let's start with the characters. Now, you know, as a Soul player, I didn't play that much Soul last patch. Not because he wasn't good, because he was very good last patch. Primarily, he was, I thought, not as fun as the patch before, right? So instead, I was playing, as you guys probably know, Goldlewis and Baiken and Testament, because these characters are all weaker, but I thought they were like fun. In this patch, as a Soul player, what I'm looking for is more consistency in certain options that he has, like stuff like /5H not hitting and things like that, and potentially some new fun options. I don't really care if he gets better or worse, but some new shiny tools would be quite nice. So let's see what they gave him, chat. I'm sure he got some of, maybe both of those. Soul Badguy. Adjustments to his crouching K and sweep improves Soul's low attack options, strengthening his ability to pressure his opponent. Nice. They've been trying to do this for like 8 patches. This is also a universal change a lot of characters got, right? Which is that 2K 2Ds hit a bit more consistently and stuff. Volcanic Viper, VV, has been improved as an offensive tool with adjustments to its hitbox and more, as there was a window with no active hitbox directly as Soul ascends. Yeah, if a character like Nago Jump H jumps at you, then you DP it, like, and it's right above your head. Jump H just beats it. You want it to like work as a move when it hits above you. But for some reason, almost anything that hits right above him, like Axl Jump H, for instance, and Ram Jump H, they just smoke his DP. On the other hand, his standing K and far standing S were too strong compared to other characters. Their performance has been decreased while leaving their greatest strengths, the attack startup for 5K and the recovery on block for far S, the plus frames, as is. Okay, so I saw a lot of people saying, oh man, standing K, like 5K hasn't changed actually. Like it's still 3 frames. It lost an attack level, whatever that means, and increased the base scaling, and now depletes more risk level, but an increased combo blowback scaling and combos of standing K starter, which probably means worse 5K run and also 5K jump, right? But people are like, look, it's probably the exact same overall, right? Now, if you don't know what decreasing an attack level means, if you go to Dustloop, there's a nice little chart here called attack level. As you can see, each attack has an attack level. Depending on the level, the attack will inflict a different amount of hit stun or block stun. For those of you who don't know, Soul's 5K is a level 0, level 2 attack, right? So the first hit is level 0, and if you look over at Soul Badguy, and you go to his frame data on 6S, and you look at the startup, it's 15 frame startup, right? So the first hit of 5K is a 0 attack level, which means it's not going to combo. The second hit is level 2, which as you can see here means that on standing it's plus 16, on crouching it's plus 17. It means it combos. The attack level has been lowered, which means at best, it's now level 1, which means that 5k into 6S does not combo unless your opponent gets counter hit or they crouch. That's an important nerf for Soul. That's big. So 5k no longer combos in a 6S, has more scaling when it's a starter. It does more, less damage because the risk level decreases faster. And then it also has more blowback, which means it's harder to combo with 5k run or 5k jump into a combo, right? So 5k is worse in every aspect. This means that you're going to be doing 5k 2D, which is probably why Sweep got buffed. The other thing about this is I wonder if the nerf to 5k means that HVV cannot be carried off of it. HVV is 13 frames. I don't know how fast it is when it's carried. Is it 15? Because if it's 15, it should only work on crouch. It's going to be very difficult / inconsistent probably. This is a big change for Soul. So crouching K, decreased knockback, pretty nice, right? This is a change a lot of characters got universally. Far standing slash, decreased damage, 6S, decreased damage, 6H, increased recovery. It's already minus like 25. I'm surprised it's more minus than that. Expanded upwards hitbox, which is great. It does not hit airborne very well, probably just a bit, so you can hit things right off the ground. And then decreased knockback, which means that you're closer after, which means this is probably a better punish, but it also might be easier to punish. Expanded frontal hitbox and hurtbox for sweep, so sweep goes farther. This is nice because 5k sweep is going to be the main thing Soul does since he cannot 6S anymore, right? He probably still gets BR off of it, I'm guessing. Jumping P and jumping K, these are normal changes. Most characters got these. Jumping D, reduced frontal hurtbox and now causes less wall break value gain. So they nerfed a bunch of the routes for Soul, but jump D has less wall damage. So maybe you can do jump D, jump D, jump D, jump D, DP or something. Or it could mean that you don't have the height and then you don't have the ability to combo because jump D doesn't break the wall. I'm not sure. It could be better. It could be worse. Gunflame Flaint has less recovery. It's cool. BV is now in standing position on landing rather than crouching, which is nice, actually. Added a hitbox directly after the ascent begins, which is pretty nice. Expanded hitbox during ascent and reduced the hurtbox. Sounds nice. Can no longer be Roman cancelled while the opponent's gold burst is active. This is a change for a bunch of characters. And when blocked midair, the opponent now lands more quickly to make it more punishable. Oh, yeah, this one too. Decreased recovery upon successful throw, so he has better advantage after throw, right? So when you do land a throw, you potentially can do like air dash safe jump maybe after, which would be cool, or maybe like jump. SVV, no longer 7 frames. So it was a 7 frame reversal before, it's now got more startup. It's also easier to punish these moves now, which is a universal change to DPs and also a universal change to supers. Aerial Banditbringer decreased attack startup, which I think means that it's faster. This might make it so that it's easier to anti-air it. Because the main purpose of it right now is that it's slow, so it like throws off your AA timing. Night Raid Vortex, when charged, launches opponents higher with decreased horizontal blowback distance. Means you get better combos off of charged Night Raid Vortex. This could be something that he wants to do in routing a bit more often now. Fafnir, reduced lower hitbox, so it doesn't hit lower to the ground. This might mean that maybe Dolphin and Stroke go under it again. A little weaker on Fafnir hitbox. And Tyrant Rave has more startup and also more recovery. It's a normal nerf to a bunch of supers. Mostly nerfed, right? Potentially the 5k change could be very bad for his routing. It also means that you have to learn a lot of new stuff for this character. Probably, again, this is another patch where I think he will dramatically change. If he doesn't get Kara VV as easily, then that's not only worse damage, but worse medias. Like if now when he gets Kara VV, he safe jumps you. If he doesn't get that and instead gets Banditbringer knockdown, that's bad. Yeah, the FD change also hurts him for sure, I think. But the other system changes could be good for him. It depends on how good Sweep is, and it depends on how good the jump D changes, or if it's bad or not, right? It could be bad. But overall, I mean, yeah. As someone who is like, I don't care if Soul gets better or worse, I hope he's more fun. I'm like, oh, I see. Kai. So Kai got a lot of great changes. This character got some sick stuff. Recovery of Dire Eclat has been decreased, making it easier to buffer after normal moves. Uh-oh. It's now easier to follow up in while he's in the corner. The usage restriction on Stun Edge has been revised, and the recovery of Aerial Stun Edge, Air Fireball, has been decreased, further improving Kai's ability to far from fire range. So he has better fireballs from the last patch, now better air fireballs. So his zoning is better and improved overall. It's now possible to continue your offense after the opponent blocks Dragon Install. After activation, the movement speed of the forward movement dash, etc., of his forward movement dash, etc., have been increased. So when he's in Dragon Install, he has better dash, better forward movement, is just quicker overall, and also is stronger in every way. I want you to know that Kai was good in the last version of the game. Like he was a pretty strong character, and people complained like he was bad, even though he was quite good in the last version of the game. So these changes Sound juicy. Crouching K knockback. This is a universal change. 6K can be canceled into special moves. That's pretty cool. It might change some of his routing a bit. Maybe you can do 6K direct cloud or something. Close standing S. Reduce recovery. This means his close S could be plus on block now, or even or slightly negative, or who knows. But this is a buff to close standing S. Far slash and 2S reduce frontal hurt box, which means they're better pokes. They're harder to counter poke against. Jumping P's and jumping K's, that's a universal change to keep you close. Jumping S has better hitbox, right? It's got reduced frontal hurt box. Jumping H now launches opponent higher with decreased hurt box or horizontal blowback distance, so he can combo off jumping H, because right now it kind of like splats you. Jumping D can now be jump cancelable, air dash canceled. These are nice, because jumping D is kind of a whack move right now, right? It's kind of weird. Can be canceled into special moves. Launches the opponent on grounded hit. Launches the opponent higher with decreased horizontal blowback distance, so you can combo easier. Can now be canceled into a finish blow during a homing jump, so the last hit of your dust. These are all really nice for him, right? It means like jump H, jump D. Because of the jump H change so that it like doesn't send you as far, it might combo into jump D, which then you can cancel into a special move, right? Potentially very sick changes for not only his pressure, but his combo ability and maybe his mix-ups. Ground throw, reduce recovery. This is the same kind of thing for a lot of characters that got this. They have more frame advantage off of a throw, which is really nice. Shock state, effect now ends when Kai takes damage. I don't think that means that it stays until he takes damage, right? I think this probably means it also now can end when he takes damage. Stun edge is now removed after a set time passes, so he can just shoot fireballs maybe faster instead of having to wait sometimes. Reduce recovery on air stun edge, fantastic. CSC, same thing as the stun edge change. Flip kick, decreased attack level of initial half of active frames. So if you're up close on this thing and you try to poke it, you might not get counter hit out of it. But reduced recovery. It's just like plus naturally now, maybe, right? So that's pretty good. And it's better with shock state, right? It could end up mattering to make stand block worse and crouch block more plus. Vapor thrust, expanded lower hitbox. This is a change a bunch of characters got. Direct clout, reduced recovery, which means you can combo after it easier, and it's probably safer on block. This really matters what the number is. If it's like -9 still, then you can still super it and punish it with a lot of things. If it's like -8 or -7, punishing this is going to be really hard. Ride the Lightning has more startup. This is a normal change. A lot of characters got this. Dragon install, increased movement speed, backwards movement, dash, less horizontal blowback distance, and decreased recovery, which means it's supposed to be plus and you can like pressure after it, right? He got like all good stuff. They're like buffs to his footsies, buffs to his zoning, buffs to his pressure, buff to his cancel options, buff to his dragon install, making 2K hit more consistently, and also 2K like 6H probably combos on counter hit now, for instance. He was pretty solid in the last patch. Like he was not amongst the top 5 characters, but he was not that far after. These are big changes. These are really nice buffs for this character. He got so much good stuff. I mean, the DI change is nice too. It means that he's like a fucking boss character when you get him low on life. That is scary. May changes. Yeah, May changes are... It's pretty funny that Kai is like sandwiched between Soul and May. It's pretty funny. Mr. Dolphin, horizontal and vertical now vary when the button is held down, which is pretty cool. I like that change. That sounds funny. So standing P, reduced attack startup. Isn't this 4 already? Oh, is it 5? Okay. It's now 4 probably. That's pretty nice. A lot of characters got these changes. I think probably because close slashes are more plus overall now. Characters are getting faster buttons to challenge. 6P adjusted animation of opponent on character hit. I wonder if that means no knockdown. I don't know. There's a couple of characters that got this change. Zato also got this change. Standing K, reduced attack startup. Really nice considering she already had dash cancel on it, right? So this is a nice buff to that too. It's a really strong poke, I think. Crouching K has less knockback. It's a universal change. 3K, her slide no longer hard knockdowns. That is big because she could do 3K hard knockdown, you know, air dash, jump to H, mix ups, 5P, 5P into whatever. And then like, yeah, that is a big nerf. Why even use it? It's incredibly strong with meter because it low profiles lots of stuff and it's hard to, I mean, you can't really interrupt it, right? It's very hard to like poke and interrupt 3K with bar, but it's probably just not what you're going to use to get hard knockdowns in a setup or whatever, right? Standing heavy slash, less damage, expanded frontal hurt box during recovery. Yeah, this move is sometimes hard to whip punish, and then if you miss your whip punish, she does it again, and then she kills you. And especially when an anti-airs you or something, it's a pretty ham move. So giving it more consistency with punishing is pretty nice, I think. A nerf for her, though, for sure. Crouching H now launches the opponent lower. This is also a nerf, intended, I suppose, to make her more burstable. Maybe. We'll see, though. It might depend. Remember, they tried to make these moves more easy to burst with the burst change, right? But that didn't really happen. Yeah, it also might help her routes, depending on how her combos are. 6H is less damage. Yeah, overall nerfing damage for a bunch of characters. Sweep has better hitbox and hurtbox. Change we see for a lot of characters. Jumping P and Jumping K are universal changes. Jump 2H is less plus on block and hit, which is a big deal. Maybe you can throw if she hits a button. Mr. Dolphin does less damage on horizontal version, but active frames now increase if you hold it down, and now maintains momentums after landing on whiffs. So she like slides in. I don't know how that's gonna go. Same thing with the vertical version. Reduce recovery on hit, which means she maybe can combo off of it sometimes. And she now has more movement speed when the button is held down. No longer hits opponent when the more than a set distance apart is listed for so many moves. I don't know what that means. Like, it cannot hit egregiously far hurt boxes. I don't know what that's supposed to mean. Who knows? It's very weird. Anyway, same thing with Mr. Dolphin vertical H version. You can, when it's descending, the opponent now bounces higher with decreased horizontal blowback, maybe easier to combo. And you have speed of descent faster when you hit them, which means you probably fall to the ground. And you can do H version and then land and then do a combo, right? Like close slash or whatever. And same thing, the nerf to the super here is normal. So May, like some of her, she got some serious nerfs. I think probably the 3K and the damage nerfs are pretty big. But 5K being faster sounds really nice. And potentially the dolphin changes could be good. It sounds like she has better routing off of vertical dolphin as well. And maybe a horizontal dolphin too. Or maybe even off of far poke, she can like do the old mix up in the old games where she would do like far slash dolphin whiff and then do like throw. That could be huge. Getting off is like, it sounds pretty good. I think being able to get off the dolphin early and then command grab or like close slash and 6H or whatever you want to do is like pretty nice. But who knows? Axl. Winter Mantis can now be used in combos. This is his command grab, right? In situations where Sickle Flash would not connect, Winter Mantis can be sometimes used as a follow-up. That's so weird. In the corner, 6K and Rainwater can now be more used in combos. These are cool changes too. In addition to improving the utility of pokes such as 2P and Far S, his ability to fight from mid-range has also been strengthened by adjusting the attack startup of Aerial Snail, making it easier to connect after Jump S. So Crouching P has a better hitbox. You love to see it. 6P, better combo potential off 6P. His 6P sucks, so he probably needed that. His 6P is a whack. He does not really have a reason to hit it. Crouching K, decreased knockback. They buffed his 2K, which is a universal change, makes 2K 2D hit better. 6K, added wall bounce effect for routing, which is pretty cool. Close S, reduced recovery, means more plus frames there on your close slash, or it's like closer to 0. I'm imagining they're going to make more close slashes plus, because a lot of close slashes are negative right now. Far S, reduced recovery and bigger hitbox and hurtbox, so it recovers faster. And then 6H has increased knockback, we see. Ryan. Jumping P, Jumping K changes are universal. Jumping D change is another one a lot of characters got. Command Grab can hit opponents while they're taking damage. No longer hits opponents more than a set distance apart. Who knows what that means? And expanded upper hitbox, so maybe it catches things a little bit more consistently if you're right off the ground. I wonder if this means like 2H command grab just like combos at some ranges. Or yeah, maybe instead of doing OTG Renson, true. Something like that. Aerial Snail has less startup and bounces the characters higher, which means maybe he can get a combo off of it if he's close. It also means Jump S Snail probably combos a bit more, which they mentioned up there. And that's also important for him because sometimes it doesn't work, right? It's not like it's increased its safety. It's only increased its like utility in that sense. Rainwater has less base damage scaling, depletes more risk, increases combo blowback scaling, reduce the combo blowback scaling on combos with Rainwater as a starter. Rainwater is the jump back, if those of you guys who don't know. He jumps back and like slides, he hits the ground diagonally. Causes more wall break value gain, less affected by combo blowback scaling, launches opponents higher, and expanded upper hitbox. They mentioned that they want you to be able to combo with it a bit more. So if it hits, he now potentially can do like Rainwater into 5K, 6K, and then he gets the wall bounce, right? That sounds like it could be pretty cool. Yeah, Bomber. Change the input to be quarter circle instead of DP, right? So you guys who are jump age gamers, now you can quarter circle. Launches them less than previously when used multiple times in the same combo. Pretty nice, maybe, potentially, right? In the sense that, like, Axl players get smoked. It's a nerf to him. Yeah, it makes Axl Bomber worse. But potentially he can like get equivalent damage by using Rainwater / 6K in his rounds. But yeah, I mean, Axl Bomber is like the thing that makes Axl good in the corner. And everybody likes it because they're tight. But, you know, They were like, fuck all that. You can do some other shit. We don't want you to just do bomber over and over. And they don't want you to do this hard thing that, like, if you can do it, your damage is great. And if you can't do it, your damage is bad. Super change is the same thing as all the other supers. Anyway, it's weird. Axl got some very nice changes, but also the bomber change sounds like it could be pretty bad. In general, it's hard to say for Axl for me, depending on how much damage he might lose in the corner. Everything else sounds good. It's just whether you can make up for it. Chipp's biggest strength is the amount of options. We made adjustments to emphasize this advantage. The attack startup of Senshu, that's his Rekka, right, has been reduced, strengthening it as a mix-up tool. Area Alpha Blade Diagonal can now be followed up when it hits, and Gamma Blade does a lot more stuff. Crashing K knockback, this is a universal change. Close standing S, again, another change, made it more plus or better on block. Far standing S, reduced hurtbox during attack startup. I cannot believe they did this. He has a 9-frame far slash. That is quite strong. I'm so surprised that they made his hurtbox on it better. Jumping P and Jumping K are universal changes. Alpha Blade Diagonal no longer hits the opponent when there's more than a set distance apart. Same thing here. And same thing, it's collision detection now activates sooner on area Alpha Blade Horizontal. Area Alpha Blade Diagonal. Chipp now lands a greater distance forward than before. Decreased recovery. No longer hits the opponent when more than a set distance apart. Yeah, Depletes more risk gauge. They want you to be able to combo off this, they mentioned, right? So it's why there's less recovery, and it's a starter, so they made it scale more. And launches the opponent higher on grounded hit. It's kind of weird to hit people with this move anyway, isn't it? Like, it's a really weird move to use from far away. Sometimes it doesn't even always hit people. Beta Blade. This is DP. Got the same changes as everything else. Slower DP. Worse if it's air block. Cannot be RC'd on gold burst. Gamma Blade. Increased attack level. We all know what increasing attack level means, right? That's a good change for him. It means he's got more hit stun or block stun to work with here. You love to see it. Launches the opponent higher on grounded hit. Launches the opponent lower with decreased horizontal blowback. Better scaling or worse scaling. It depletes more risk level. And increased combo blowback scaling. Causes more wall break value. Launches the opponent less than previously when used multiple times in the same combo. They don't want you to be able to loop stuff. We saw the same change with Axl. And increased tumble duration. So you can combo off Gamma Blade. So Gamma Blade's like more plus, and it's going to be mega plus on hit, and you can combo off of it, right? This seems great, especially since in the corner he already gets 2D meaty Gamma Blade. Maybe they're just trying to bait Chipp players into doing more Gamma Blade so that you can then super and kill them. Now, but these are really nice changes to Gamma Blade. Senshu is the overhead on Rekka, you guys say, right? Reduced attack startup. Reduced recovery. Increased movement speed. Now creates less distance with opponent on hit in the corner, so he's close enough to probably get close slash. The opponent now can recover after landing. Oh, that's interesting. Now depletes less risks. Reduced combo blowback scaling when it starts. And then now causes less wall break value gain. Bounces opponent lower with decreased horizontal blowback distance. So what I'm curious about is, like, it says reduce recovery and reduce attack startup. I wonder if you cannot mash on like low Rekka into overhead. You must be able to. But less startup is great for this move, and also reduced recovery is great too. It also means that it's easier for him to combo and consistently link when he gets like counter hit button or counter hit Rekka and then combo straight into overhead, you know? I don't think the move is ass. I think the move is not fantastic, but it's useful as counter hit combo filler, and when you have bar, you can just send it with it and then do a mix up off of it, right? So it's like one of those moves that is useful when you have a certain hit or when you have meter to spend on it. So it's going to probably make his confirms better as well. These are good changes to Chipp. I think overall, most people think he is just okay in the last version. Like, he's pretty good, but not nearly as good as so many of the strong characters in the game. So he got a lot of good changes. I'm surprised Gamma Blade and the Rekka overhead were the things they targeted, but it probably helps him be a bit more consistent. It lets him take more risks with his pressure, especially with bar, a little bit safer, and gets better options from it. Okay, Potemkin changes. Garuda is now easier to follow up when near the corner, even on aerial hit, making punishing the opponent's backdash more rewarding. Yeah, a lot of people do this. They see Garuda, they just mash backdash, they get smoked, and you're like, hell yeah, I'm out of there. I don't care, I'll just eat the Garuda on the backdash, right? If it's worse in the corner when you get hit by Garuda, that means that mashing backdash in the corner against Garuda is worse. So you have to, you know, gotta hold that a little bit more. Mirror, Gigantor Kai, used to function as both an invincible move and as a way to maintain offense. It was not a real invincible move. It was pretty trash. It no longer has invincibility, but has been improved as a tool to maintain offensive pressure. That's probably best case scenario, because you could just meaty Potemkin and then throw the mirror. It was not very good. It now works in a block string after 6k, opening up potential for high-low mix-ups with his dust or sweep. What the? If that shit's true and he actually gets to mix you, that's going to be hilarious. Okay, standing K, reduce frontal hurt box, better poke. Crouching K, same universal change we've seen with less knockback so that you can combo more consistently. Crouching S and standing H, buffs to these moves. They have less of a hurt box. They're harder to poke against. 6H, less hurt box. Reduced horizontal blowback distance. Opponent no longer recover after landing on counter hit. So counter hit does not mean you tumble and then you can get up or whatever. You're just stuck. And reduced tumble duration on counter hit. So when you smoke someone with 6H with pot, they are just now hard knockdown. You hammer fall up and then Goraida, and then you fuck their day up. Jumping B and jumping K are universal changes. Potemkin Buster, reduced frontal hurt box, so it's harder to poke into Pop Buster. Pretty cool thing. Mega Fist, forward and back, does less damage, which means his routing will be less damage. It also means that if he gets like a Mega Fist counter hit starter, less damage on that. That's pretty big. Yeah, it has not been brought up, but the system change that makes it so that when PRC slowdown is happening, if you do an attack, the slowdown goes away, is a big change to Potemkin. It's a big nerf to him. Potemkin could do in this version of the game, Hammerfall or Mega Fist, PRC, close slash Garuda, and it was a true block string. You were stuck. In the next version of the game, close slash into Garuda won't be real. Yeah, you could just do raw PRC Garuda, of course, but you do lose the risk and the extra hit of close slash. Hammerfall, opponent is hard knockdown on counter hit. You love to see it. You just go ride the flick. Reduce base damage scaling, depletes less risk. Reduce combo blowback scaling, now causes less wall break option. FDB is flick, right? Made it better if you get a starter off of it. That's cool. Garuda is less damage and does not have a wall bounce effect. Instead tumbles, which I think is intended to make it so that if you backdash it, like as they mentioned, you actually can combo off of it. Mirror. Projectile now appears even if the strike hit lands. Damage and blowback adjusted in line with this change. Removes invincibility. Invincibility didn't matter. Increased duration of tension penalty. So he has more meter penalty after him. Reduced attack startup. Reduced recovery, so it recovers faster. He's more plus. Expanded hitbox of the strike hit. No longer gains tension when the strike hits. They probably made this so that he can't build a bunch of bar while he's comboing you or walking with the mirror, right? The projectile now de-accelerates when close to the corner is also a system change. Sometimes projectiles would move past you into the corner and then you no longer was a threat. They made it slow down near the corner so that you can hold the corner with it. That's pretty nice. So they mostly buffed his normals. They buffed some of his interactions with Flick and other special moves. They buffed Mirror to be a better offensive thing. And they increased some of his routing, it sounds like, with Flick, potentially, right? And Garuda not being as scary to just backdash in the corner and you get out. But there are nerfs to him in some of the system changes and stuff. So those could matter. I'm really curious with Pop because these changes, they sound good to me, but there are some damage nerfs overall, which could impact the character, and the system changes could impact him. I don't have any time for anybody who is mega dooming, though, either way. I don't know if you saw the soul changes. This is a bad patch for soul, and I'm not like, it's over, guys. It's the end. Like, yeah, I mean, he got nerfed. That's just how it goes. Alrighty, Faust. Dude, Faust in this version, he got some good stuff. You gotta feel pretty good if you're a Faust player. Bust to standing K, far slash. Faust can use a little bit more juice in the neutral. In addition, mini Faust attack more faster. They're more quickly ready. They're not fucking Metal Gear Solid guards anymore, making it easier to use what could this be and throw more items. The decrease to the attack startup with P and K versions of Scarecrow make them more viable as surprise attacks. They can also be better used in tandem with items now, as the attack begins once the button is released. That's pretty nice. Faust position after bone crushing excitement cinematic has been adjusted, making it easier to wall break. Yeah, sometimes the super doesn't wall break. It's kind of weird. So 6P now launches higher. Maybe means that he gets 5k 6H or something off of it, or 5k item toss, or honestly anything makes item toss better or something off of 6P. Standing K expanded the lower hitbox. That is pretty nice, I gotta say. Being able to hit lower to the ground. 5k is incredibly good, but it just doesn't hit anybody crouching or anything low to the ground. It's very easy to go under it. So if it hits crouching, like, that button is juiced. Or if it just hits lower in general, it's a pretty nice buff. Crouching K is lower attack startup, big buff to Faust too. Crouching kick is an important button for his staggers and important for setting up high-low mix-ups, and catching jump is really nice for it too. And anti-airing the leggy. You know, it's a big change for him. It's nice. Having a little bit faster, you love to see it. His jabs are incredible. They are incredibly good. You may be like, it doesn't matter. You're sounding like a Potemkin player. His jabs are incredibly good. And the system change makes counter hit lights much better. Having a half screen jab, that's a low that you can just tag people's legs with, That is much better. Even if you're not getting a combo off of it, having extra hits done to maybe make 2P on counter hit into / jail, or make it so people can't poke on that or something, like, that's big. Close slash, reduce recovery is a universal change a lot of characters got. Same with / and less of a hurt box. Crouching SS now launches the opponent on grounded hit, launches the opponent higher. This is pretty nice for him too. Standing H gives him a hard knockdown on counter hit standing heavy on the follow-up. Pretty nice. You can throw some items or do some pressure. 6H added stagger effect. And jumping P and jumping K are universal changes. Jumping 2K increased damage. Nice. That's a good change. No attack level change. Get on. Jumping H reduced frontal hurt box. I'm not sure why. I think jumping H seemed pretty good anyway as an air to air, did it not? But you'll take it. Made the timing for controlling Faust movement's direction with forward or back on mix. This is a tornado faster. Blowback direction now matches the direction that Faust is facing. So if you did it the opposite way, they would get pulled the opposite way. Now it's the direction that he's facing. It could be good or bad, maybe depending on what he does, right? The final hits during the active frames now have the same properties regardless of the number of hits. I assume that same properties means you get the version that pops up. It would be so funny if they nerfed it though. And I wonder how it changes the frame advantage. It probably changes how mix works entirely, but it also probably makes it more consistent. Banana peels can no longer hit multiple characters. That's funny. Afro Explosion has a guard crush effect. Good lord, that's a buff. That is a buff and a half, is it not? That is an absurdly powerful change. If you don't know what this is, when you have an Afro on you, right? Jump D and like fire items ignite the Afro, which now means that you will be guard crushed off of this, which means he can 2K or command grab or whatever, and you are stuck. This is a humongo change. Meteors have a ground bounds effect, and the blowback direction now matches the direction the meteors are falling from. So they wanted to make these interactions more consistent. Mini Faust now twerks on you. He activates faster. It's key because essentially what Faust needs is an item that will let him throw more items, right? That's his objective. His objective is to throw an item that then allows him to throw more items. And if Mini Faust now is that item that allows you to throw more items always, then like you just throw one Mini Faust and be like, oh, there's Mini Faust, boom, boom, boom. And you throw and you throw and you throw and you throw. And like now you throw meteors and you throw 2 hammers and you throw a trumpet and you throw, and you're like, oh, well, Mini Faust is there. I can grab the trumpet. And now I've got meteors and now I've got 9 hammers and now I've got 2 more Mini Fausts. And like, yeah, you know, you can now fight for space much faster on the screen, and it protects you so that you can throw more items quicker. Scarecrow only charges if the same button used to activate the attack is held down. Scarecrow sounds scary to me too, because what if like throw Mini Faust attacks, instant Scarecrow is just like a full screen cross up all the time? P and K versions of Scarecrow make them more viable as surprise attack because they decrease the attack startup. So like, is he just gonna be constantly teleporting around? Like he's just opening the door like the old games? That sounds scary. Attack animation now begins when the button is released for Scarecrow instead of you can hold it or not. And then there's a couple of things, right? So they changed a little bit. Thrust, which is a scalpel. Reduced frontal hurt box. I assume this means you can still 6P it, but maybe it's just a better hurt box against non-6P moves. Love, increased damage of initial hit, and projectile now appears even when the move is Roman canceled at an earlier point, which means bomb bag RC is better. And super, same changes that a bunch of characters got, and it makes it easier to break the wall. So Faust changes are very good. He got better normals, he got better item interactions, he got a more consistent tornado. He has 6H as a better poke, which is probably important if counter hit 5K 6H or something combos or whatever. That would be pretty surprising to me, but it could, who knows. And he also got Mini Faust as a potential protection and maybe faster full screen left right with Scarecrow. This is all fantastic changes to Faust. I think they all sound very strong. Can I explain the RC general change? No. Like it's kind of not clear. So I actually cannot explain it, because we don't really know. Millia changes. Also got great changes. This character needed a bit of love, right? Millia's grounded neutral game has been improved due to the increased range and reduced startup of far slash. Yeah, this is the changes I wanted for her, actually. Changes to jumping D, Cabal, and other moves make for more opportunities to trip the opponent up and deal damage after going on the offensive with jump H during an air dash. And Hiroka's Emi after knocking the opponents down has improved due to the decrease in recovery for the H version of top. Yeah, all I was thinking to myself is, man, I wish Millia had more time to mix me up after the H version of top. So crouching P is faster, right? Which is nice. It's big in this game with more close slashes that are plus, especially if 4-frame counter hit 2P combos into 6H into hair car. Crouching K, less knockback. This is a normal change. Close S, reduced recovery. A lot of characters got this change, but this is especially big, I feel like, for Millia. I wonder if like you can challenge close slash air dash H now. It might be really hard to contest that. Far slash, reduced attack startup. This is big. She already can do like far slash 5H and then like super and then go in for more pressure, like doing the Kara into the super, right? These are good changes. Standing H, reduced frontal hurt box, so it's a better poke. Jumping P and jumping K changes are universal and better hitbox slash hurtbox interactions with her jumping S because there's a smaller hurtbox. Jumping D, now expanded frontal hitbox and reduced hurtbox. Launches the opponent on grounded hit. Oh my god. Ground throw also gives her more recovery. It might be balanced out by the H disc change though, no? Bad Moon. Final hit now launches opponents higher with decreased horizontal blowback distance. So a little buff. Turbo Fall has less recovery. Tandem Top has less recovery on all versions. And no longer disappears when Millia blocks the opponent's attack. Oh man. Those are big buffs. Yeah, what if in the corner she can do Bad Moon 5k 6H or something? More knockback on S disc, which is a nerf, right? She doesn't really get a ton off of S disc right now. She gets pressure. You can run up and do far slash or whatever, but she probably gets worse pressure off of S disc as a footsie button. They also made it faster and less recovery or whatever. They reduced recovery on it, so probably does not need to be super good. Iron Savior. This is hair car. Decreased horizontal blowback distance. Expanded frontal hitbox. So better hitbox and it keeps you closer. It means that she can probably more consistently combo off of it. Whether it's with RC or comboing into it in the corner and making sure she gets close slash into whatever afterwards. Fixed the bug on Lust Shaker, where the final hit would sometimes not cause blowback. And then Capel changed properties from strike to projectile, reduced the recovery, now affected by momentum, so she probably goes flying more or less. Increased damage, expanded hitbox. So Capel is even bigger. That's pretty ham, because Capel's already quite good at like beating DPs or air-to-airs or whatever. And Winger has got the same changes as a bunch of other stuff. So like mostly actually all buffs basically for Millia besides the throw thing. Better footsie buttons and better pressure and safer discs and more consistent combos and better air approach options. Like basically everything about her is better. You got to be chilling. I think if you're a Millia player, you got to feel pretty good about these changes. Her 2D is good, but it's also horrendous on block is why people are saying that. But you also have to remember that DPs got universally nerfed. And if you have to choose between getting everything about your character buffed and your sweep being -11, you're okay with taking a negative sweep if everything else about your character is better. These are really good changes. Zato. I don't know how this happened. Remember we looked at Soul earlier and we were talking about like, yeah, the characters at the top are like Ram, Happy Chaos, and Leo. And then afterwards, most people have like Zato and Nago and then like Soul and some other characters, right? So Zato is one of the best characters in the game in the other patch. Right? So like you would assume that there's no way that Zato could get like 95% buffs in a game where like it looks like the system changes are also quite good for him. But here we are. With Eddie is summoned, Zato can now take more time going on the offense due to the reduced rate of meter consumption. Increase the deceleration as jumping D comes out, making it less likely for him to land, right? So this makes it so that jump D is better for mix-ups, so you don't accidentally miss jump D or whatever. Improving its utility as an overhead. It can trip up the opponent with difficult to react strings from aerial attacks or 6H. The decrease in combo blowback and other kinds of scaling make it more rewarding to use that's a lot in combos or strings, even if the drills hit multiple times. Eddie, reduced meter depletion when not attacking. Okay. 6P, adjusted animation of the opponent on hit. I don't know what this means. I don't know if this means no knockdown and it's standing now. I don't know what this is supposed to mean, right? Maybe they stay standing now and he does 6P drill, which is probably good, right? No change to the recover or anything else. Yeah, they buffed his 6P, maybe, or nerfed his 6P, maybe on hit. Who knows? Crouching kick is a universal change, but it also got reduced attack startup, so it's faster. Close S has reduced recovery, so he has better pressure off his close slash. He has a slow close slash, though. Crouching S has reduced frontal hurtbox, so it's a better poke, harder to poke against 2S. Standing H has more damage. Crouching H, decreased damage, means that you don't die as much in a combo with 2H and doing all this stuff off of a pose. 6H, reduced descent speed, which I think people were saying, and they mentioned it up above, he can do 6H and then Eddie option and then do a falling button after 6H or jump D or whatever. Like maybe you can do 6H, jump K, jump D, which means his mix-ups are potentially better off of that. I'm not sure. Jump P is a universal change, and jumping K now launches opponents higher, makes his routing more consistent. Jumping H, first hit of the active frames now launches the opponent higher with decreased horizontal blowback distance. I'm assuming to make high jumping H combo and routes better and stuff when he's like air dashing down. The jumping D change was mentioned above. Pierce, delayed the timing when the Eddie gauge is depleted. There's a change to a bunch of characters like this. Initial hit now launches the opponents higher. Does this mean that like 6P or sweep off Pierce always works? Well, I guess sweep works, but does this mean that both hits of Pierce just like combo? That sounds quite strong if Pierce 1 and Pierce 2 combo more consistently off air hits. But probably the more important change is reduced attack startup of second hit. So currently there's a 7 frame gap, which he can cover by hitting a button. But I do wonder if the change is going to be 6 frames or 5 frames on the gap, because it's less than this. I think this is like a pretty ham change, right? It could be in reaction to the fact that most characters got faster buttons, but yeah. Poor Goldlewis. Goldlewis already couldn't challenge this, and now it's worse for him, so that's pretty bad. But yeah, Pierce got really strong. That's a lot. This is the drills. Delay the timing when the gauge is depleted. They did this to all of them. We'll see how that goes. Less damage, but all types of scaling will now only be applied once, even when the projectile hits multiple times. So they try to make it so that getting hit by the drills a bunch, like, you know, it breaks the wall very easily, and like you can just like backdash or eat the hit and then the drill smokes you. I think they're trying to improve this. Leap is the frog. Decreased damage, but expanded hurt box as well. So easier to poke against this early, I would imagine, right? And also a little less damage. Leap is like his most damaging combo option along with 2H most of the time. And Amorphous, reduced attack startup. They made it faster, and they made the movement speed of the hitbox faster. Amorphous, I think they want you to use more often, maybe in neutral even, besides just doing sword. One of the best characters in the game, mostly just getting buffs. Especially because FD doesn't really affect his pressure in the same way that it affects many other characters. And he gains a lot from the FD change, and his jabs gain a lot from the counter hit change. Zato is probably pretty happy, I think, with a lot of these changes. The damage changes could be significant, but at the same time, like, if everything else about the character is still better and everybody else in the game is doing less damage, it's probably fine. So probably going to be very strong in this version. Speaking of which, Ram, right? Again, those people think her and Happy Chaos and Leo are like the 3 strongest characters in the patch. That's like a very normal consensus. So this character, her changes are very impactful on the cast. Adjustments to the attack startup and recovery of 2S have improved its utility as a poke, as its lack of range compared to far standing S made it less useful previously. Yeah, essentially like 2S is kind of not nearly as useful as her other pokes because it doesn't really have a place. Them buffing this means she has better anti-6B options, because a lot of people want a 6B her button. Ram is now closer to the opponent after Daro hits in the ground, meaning she can continue her offense with close slash, which is a nice buff to her. And decreased height on makes it easier to use in neutral. This is her air double slashy. So air double slashy doesn't gain as much height, so you can use it as a neutral poke more easily. The damage distribution of Calvados has been adjusting. This is our other super, making it deal more damage when used in combos to distinguish it from Moribado. Yeah, this was better when opponents were low on life or to beat Guts, but otherwise you just use this super. Okay, her dash cancel has more recovery. Does this affect her Rekka? It must, right? Because if you're canceling into another move, it shouldn't matter. Does it just mean that there's more of a gap? Question mark when she does the cancels? Or it just means that if she accidentally fucks up and does a dash in and you miss the cancel, then that's worse, which that doesn't really matter. Crouching K is a universal change. Close S, better on block. This is a universal change as well. Far S has less upper hitbox, and same thing with standing H. Probably weaker to jump in or jump out of her pressure, and probably weaker to 6P. 2S has less startup, so it's faster, and it has reduced recovery. It's better on block. These are good changes to her 2S. She probably needed her 2S to be a little bit better. I mean, she didn't need it, but she probably is happy to have her 2S be a little bit better. She doesn't really need anything. She's incredibly... She has no losing matchups in this version of the game. I don't think she needs anything. These are universal changes. Sword Toss. Delayed timing when the projectile appears. Attack startup remains unchanged. So the Sword Toss... This is the key of how this character is changed or not, because this could mean that she is much worse or about the same. If she takes damage after firing a sword and before it reaches the corner, the hitbox disappeared and the sword will be placed on the ground, which is also, it's an okay change. I don't think it really impacts her a lot of the time. And decreased damage, reduced hitbox of the explosion. I wonder if that means dashing or jumping out of it is also better. Delayed timing when the projectile appears is interesting because it could mean that if she does 2D or like button into sword toss, that you can actually hit a button and challenge her, or hit a button and interrupt or punish. That's going to be the important question. Can she do button sword toss, and can you like 6P or hit a button to beat it? Because if the answer is no, then her sword pressure will be probably pretty similar to how it is now. If the answer is yes, then that really changes her corner pressure a lot, right? It means that when she does like, let's say 2K2D, instead of just throwing sword toss, sometimes she has to do Rekka. Or sometimes she has to do something else because you can just poke and beat the sword toss. That, along with the changes to the upper hitboxes of far slash and far H, might make dealing with the corner pressure a bit easier, where you can jump and avoid it more often. The thing is, though, is that her anti-air damage is fantastic anyway, so it's more like, even if it's nerfed, she'll probably just have to make more correct decisions and interact with you a bit more before you die, rather than like, you know, right now where she just throws the sword and you're fucked. This is the most important question of the character, is whether sword toss is much worse. If it's not, she just remains one of the best characters in the game for another patch, probably. Let's go down here. This is her double swipe in the air, less de-acceleration and lowered height of ascent, so she can use it off the ground a little bit lower. Calvados, decrease damage of all hits other than the final hit, and increase damage on the final hit, right? Trying to make that super better for wall breaks rather than just doing Mortabato, which makes me sad because Mortabato is way faster. It has more recovery on Mortabato, same speed though, and when blocked midair, you land quicker. I cannot believe they didn't slow it down. When I read universally we are nerfing invincible supers, I was like, okay, that means Ram. That must mean Ram, but then it didn't. Like, I think she gets helped a lot by the system, and I think she gets helped a lot by a lot of these buffs she got, but it's really hard to say whether this sword toss nerf is big or not. If the sword toss were a nerf and the dash cancel nerfs are actual nerfs, like the dash cancel affects the frame data on things outside of just accidentally getting the dash, and if the sword toss nerf is big, then she probably gets a little nerfed, right? If they are not big, she will remain like one of the best, potentially the best character. Even if the nerf is pretty big, she'll probably still be one of the stronger characters. Yeah, the patch is very big. This game, I think this patch changes a lot. There's a lot of people who I think that the patch notes are not as dramatic as it strikes people to be, but I think the universal system changes are incredibly big. And we don't even know exactly how they work. Like the RC ones sound like they're massive, and we're not even sure exactly how the RC changes work. Leo. So again, him and Ram and Happy Chaos, most people think are the three best characters in the game, right? So the changes to these characters are very impactful. If the version of the game, like Happy Chaos is the best character, characters who are weak to him are going to have a rough time, even if they're good against the rest of the cast, right? So same thing with a character like Leo. Leo really smokes a lot of characters in this game. Also, the kinds of changes that he got, like the system change, imagine Leo plus a billion 5k on counter hit. Like, good lord. Changes like that could be big. The changes to those whites, collates, thingamajig mean that even when the opponent's in the corner, Leo can go into Brynhilder stance, the same as mid-screen. Due to the disparity and difficulty of punishing and dealing with his sweep, depending on the opponent's characters, its recovery and knockback have been adjusted. Yeah, this is the Berserker Slash, right? Although Leo will be open to a counterattack at close range, sweep during a dash can function as a lunge attack. It goes very far. Standing K, increased recovery. This is a big nerf. Because on block right now, 5k is so good at staggering. The problem with Leo is that as a character archetype, he is supposed to be the like, oh shit, he got in and now I'm fucked kind of a character. The problem is he was incredibly consistent about getting in. Very few matchups really gave him a problem where he was like, oh no, I can't get in. It was like almost every matchup he just got in. And it was due to things like dashing 2k, dashing 5k, Berserker Slash, how far and effective far slash and 5H is. The character's neutral is incredibly good. So this change is pretty big for that normal. Crouching K, decreased knockback is a universal change. And close S is more plus on block. Crouching S is better on block. That is very useful for this character for sure. Command normal 5, which is heavy slash while holding far standing S. This is his guard point, right? Can now withstand the opponent's attacks until directly before the attack is active. I don't really know exactly what this is supposed to do for him. The intention is here to make guard point better. Sweep. Expanded lower hitbox. So it hits lower to the ground. Increase the recovery. So it's worse on block. Right now it's -5, yeah? So -6, -7, who knows what it's going to be now after. Decrease the knockback. Increase movement speed. Now, increased movement speed is a buff and a nerf. It means that he's closer to you when he does it. So it's a better whiff punish when he does dashing 2D, right? It's affected by dash momentum and it has more movement speed, so it's even farther. But it means that punishing it is easier. Now launches the opponent higher on counter hit, which means he gets better counter hit combos off of it. So they nerfed it in a bunch of ways, but made it so that if you hit it or if you're whiff punishing with it, it's better. But it's worse as like a just do it, because it's incredibly stupid right now as a just do it move, right? It's belligerent. If it's like -6, like Is that big of a deal? You're going to eat like 2K 2D or something? Leo is incredibly tanky and the hardest character in the game to punish or to combo for most characters. He's heavy and he's small, which is the worst combo of things you could be. He's just small and he's got a fat ass, so he's just hard to combo. Jumping P and jumping K are universal changes. Jumping S launches lower, which is interesting. I wonder if this is supposed to pull you in closer so that he can combo easier. Jumping H has a decreased hurt box, so it's got a better what's called chance of connecting with things. Jumping H is pretty good anyway. I'm kind of surprised about this. And now launches the opponent lower. Maybe it makes it more consistent, or maybe it makes it harder. I'm not sure. And jumping D bounces the opponent higher with decreased horizontal blowback distance. Probably also makes that better. This is increased attack startup, can no longer be roaming canceled when the opponent's burst is active, and blocked midair. These are all universal changes to DP. So DP is slower. His cross up now can cross over behind it even when they are in the corner. So when back to the wall, he can still cross you up with Berserker Slash, which is pretty good. Turbulence. Opponent can now recover after landing, so it's not a hard knockdown. Very nice for him. For everybody that's not him, I should say. It's a very big buff to everybody else. And then kick during Brynhilda's back turn has more damage and now triggers slowdown on counter hit, which is juicy. Last thing is reduced damage scaling. This is his super, right? What is this? Blitzschlag? Or is this Stomp? Yeah, it must be the back turn guard break. They made it better, right? And it also causes less wall break value gain. That could be better or worse. It depends on how you look at it. The nerf to Turbulence. Turbulence is the pillar when he punches the ground, right? This is big. This means that teching away and getting away from back turn stance is a bit easier. So he got us some slight nerfs to his neutral with his 5K and sweep. And then he got some nerfs to his back turn stuff with Turbulence, which I think makes sense. The problem with him currently is that his neutral is too strong and his ability to stick to you is too good for how strong his mix-ups are and his archetype. So they made each aspect a bit worse, right? His DP is a little bit worse. His Oki is not quite as powerful. And then his neutral is a bit worse too. Not as bad as it could have been though. I think honestly he'll end up still being one of the best characters in the game, right? Nago, so again, another quite strong character. He got some really interesting changes. So the properties of moves such as far S, 2S now vary depending on the blood gauge. That means there's a greater benefit to keeping the blood gauge higher than before. Now this is a really interesting question. Does that mean that these moves are worse when they are at level 0 now? And then they could be their current level, or they could be even better at high blood. We don't know. It's hard to say, but this character has remained strong in each version of the game, so pretty likely that he's probably okay. It also, I think, makes more sense for the character in the sense that his other normals are way better, like his H normals are much better when he's high blood. Why not make it so that all of his normals are affected by blood like that? I think that's a cooler concept for the character. As, yeah, whatever this move is was significantly stronger than this, whatever this move is, and this move or whatever is now, yep, sounds good. Later part of Fukyo can now be canceled into some special moves. That's pretty beast, right? Opening up greater possibilities for Fukyo and neutral. This is a nice change. The initial reaction is Fukyo into command grab. The other answer is Fukyo into Beyblade from full screen, meaning you can just whip across the whole screen very fast, right? As long as the cancel window is not incredibly late, that sounds really cool for him. This is a universal change. Far S, attack startup now varies depending on the blood gauge. Damage and chip now varies on the blood gauge. These are all these hits. Who fucking knows if it's better or worse? We don't know. Crouching H, reduced lower hitbox. Yeah, there's a problem where 2H should be an anti-air. And yet, I exist on the ground and I am being cut in half. It should probably not do that. If you want to hit the whole screen, you hit 5H and it hits the whole screen. If you want to hit the whole air, you hit 2H and it hits the whole air, right? You all know what I'm talking about. You've all been hit by that 2H. These are universal changes. Jumping S, same change as we saw. Could be great, could be, who knows? Jumping H, could be a nerf or a buff. It also depends. Jumping D, attack startup now varies on the blood gauge. Is he going to get like sick, nasty jumping D loops when he's in high blood? Like his confirm is going to be extra sick if you do like DP into the corner, 5K jump D when you're high blood. Who knows? That sounds cool. I think if the character is more technical and he has to make more decisions based on his level of blood, that is great for the character. I think the problem is right now, the blood is, because of how they changed it in the other version, a lot of times inconsequential, and he can just be a little thoughtless with his offense. So if the character is like better but more thoughtful, I'm fine with that. Blood Rage, decreased opponent's reeling time during guard crush. Thank you. I'm not trying to be stuck for forever. This is, what move is this? Delay the timing when the blood gauge begins to increase. Is this Beyblade? This is Clone. Okay. That's the only change. This is Beyblade. They all got this change. I don't know if this is to make it so that the blood doesn't go up right away and then you can like scramble and force like command grabs and stuff. Or it also might change some of his routes, right? Because if your blood doesn't go up faster, you might not have higher level versions of your moves quicker. Yeah, it makes forcing a last second bite better for him, but it might make some of his routes worse. Beyblade. Decrease knockback. Closer up to you, probably on hit and block. Increase horizontal blowback distance. Okay, so you're just closer on block. No longer causes collision detection push block to expand. Sounds great. Increase recovery. Ooh. No longer 0 on block Beyblade, which is a big deal. It does mean that you can challenge on it. However, then he DPs your dumbass, right? Or Fukyo's back and hits something. The other thing, though, is it possible now for you to block Beyblade and then challenge with a fast button and he Fukyo's back and his far slash, when nerfed, and he hasn't built up blood yet because it takes a second, is slower, so he can't whip punish you on Beyblade Fukyo back. And that it might not be the case, but that could be the case. The other thing is it goes farther and you can cancel it out of Fukyo, which could be pretty good. And the momentum stays when he cancels into other moves, which sounds pretty juicy. Means he'll probably have to DP a bit more. Shizuruyuki, this is his DP, right? Added ground bounce. And then Fukyo, delay the timing when the blood. Later half of the mood can be canceled into some special moves. And momentum now remains. Those are pretty big. I mean, even stuff like Fukyo DP might be a good challenge from like far away when people are jumping. This is his super, his non-blood rage super. Increased recovery when the follow-up cinematic is not triggered. Yeah. Fuck you. Why can you do super and then no cinematic and then do 6H and then now bounces the opponent higher when the initial hit connects without triggering the follow-up cinematic? Oh, okay. But there is more recovery, so who knows, right? When blocked midair, the opponent now lands more quickly than before. He might even get something better. If he gets a damaging combo on this instead of the 6H, that's pretty bad. This is, I do not accept this as a nerf that I'm supposed to feel bad about for Nago, because every character got this change. The same reason when the Millia player was like, why is Winger slower and it's easier to punish? It's a universal change. But yeah, this is interesting. I think Nago, it's hard to tell without knowing how exactly the buttons work, but he got both nerfs and buffs, correct? Like the Beyblade nerf is big, and potentially the normals could be buffs or nerfs, depending on how they work. This character received nerfs and you people are ignoring it. Like, do you read or what? Hotashi, when the last patch came out, people said that Soul was buffed and that he got a Rekka, went from top 1 to top 1 in the last patch, okay? Now, obviously, none of that is not true. So I want you to know that they also are not going to read in this patch, and they couldn't read in the last patch, and they're not going to read in the patch after this, and it's not going to change. Like most of the time when Nago gets changed in this game, what ends up happening is his changes are a mix of good things and bad things, and then he remains quite strong. I suspect that's how he'll be in the new version. The core of his kit is quite good, and there's some other important changes to other characters that help him. And I think also, even though he doesn't get the dash cancels and stuff, I think the lights will be pretty good for him. Getting like counter hit 5p close slash or counter hit 5p 6k and stuff will probably be useful for him. What my hope is that his buttons are worse at level 0 and far better at high blood, so that he will make a choice in matchups to say, I will remain high blood and then poke you out and play Fuzis. Or I will, like, go low blood and then just go for pressure, right? Whatever he wants to do. His 2S right now is too much, I think. It's sort of a thoughtless move a lot of the times, right? Sometimes characters have those, and that's okay. But I think making it more thoughtful to hit the button and rather than just like 2S, 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 and like that is, yeah. That's a little degen right now. Gio, I heard some dooming about this character's changes. Why can't they kill her, man? I see everybody who's not a Gio player is pissed, so who knows. After Giovanna leaps during Sol Puente, this is her flippy do, right? Her forward movement can now be controlled with forward or back. This reduced startup also increases its utility as a mix-up tool. That sounds nice. Decreased recovery of Travail further strengthens its ability to maintain offensive pressure. Is that the drill? Sol Nascente now functions better as an anti-air. That's her DP, right? Dash. Movement distance can now be altered with forward or backwards inputs during the animation. That's cool. It means that she can position herself better on the screen. So she can dash and then hold back and then dash again, Her moves have chip damage when over 50 tension. What? All right. Imagine just getting fucking twisted into a pretzel by Gio's 2S and shit. 2S 5H just doing all this chip. Hell yeah. Crouching K is a universal change. Expanded upper hitbox and hurtbox. Far standing S, decreased horizontal blowback distance. Probably makes it a little bit easier for her to combo off of it. Sweep has increased recovery. No longer hits opponent when more than a set distance apart. We don't know what that means. But yeah, her sweep is incredibly good. They did not change that much else about it, though, yeah. It's still low profiles, all kinds of shit. It's still anti-airs. It's still a ridiculous poke. She needed this move to not be probably as good as it is. I'm going to be honest with you. Jumping P and jumping K are universal changes. Same thing with jumping S and jumping H, right? So it's a little easier to jump in on moves that are easier to jump in on like a 6P or something. Jumping D does less damage, but launches higher. So probably to compensate, gives her a little bit more carry in situations, I would guess. Ground throw, reduced throw range. That's a big change. Hurts her ability to throw you a little bit more. Means that she maybe has to go a little deeper to get the throw off of her dash. Sepultura, decreased damage. That's her wolf kick, right? 214K. And reduce lower hitbox and hurtbox. I wonder if that means like you can low profile it. Or maybe that you can 6P it. It could be either or both. You can still time it such that 6P will lose to it, correct? Like for instance, people try to 6P Soul's far slash into 5H. And you cannot 6P it if the Soul player times it correctly. It just means that her offense is going to have to be a bit more thoughtful. Travau, expanding the maximum distance when with opponent from which it can connect. Increase active frames. More active frames means it could be more plus. And reduce recovery. So drill is much more plus overall. This is DP. Reduce lower hitbox and expanded upper hitbox. So this is a problem. I think currently DP hits a lot of grounded pokes in like a really nasty way, right? I'm sure you guys have had this happen where you like try to hit like a crouching button on it and it beats, like the DP beats your crouching button. And you're like, what? So I think the idea is to make it weaker against grounded attacks and better against airborne stuff, which makes sense. It doesn't need to beat that many standing attacks either, but it probably should not ever beat a crouching attack. Flippy do. Expanded lower hitbox and hurtbox, so easier to hit, but also easier to anti-air. And you can change the movement distance by holding forward or back. Opponent can no longer recover after landing. Oh, she lost it? The opponent can now recover, sorry. Sorry, it's the opposite. Yeah, my bad. Losing that is pretty big. It does bounce opponent higher, though. Does that mean that she can actually get something off of it? Oh, maybe not, because increased recovery. Increase attack level of the second hit. Reduce attack startup of the second hit. Well, if second hit has a higher attack level and it bounces you after it hits, it could compensate for the recovery. She might be able to combo off of it. Especially if the move, you can make it left and right and make it an actual guess about where it's going to be hitting more often. Probably not going to be plus anymore if there's more recovery, but it's hard to say. It's also increased attack level. It's also affected by momentum now. And then her air super has more startup. This is her air super, right? It's her ground super. That makes sense because of the reversal super changes that are universal. It seems like she got some potentially slight nerfs and then some better buffs and utility changes. But I think her changes in regards to the system changes should be quite strong now. Having the better confirms off of the lights. She seems good. She was a pretty strong character in this version of the game, right? Yeah, it's so weird that everybody thinks these are like dramatic nerfs. Are these like, they don't seem that dramatic to me. They don't. Yeah, also, yeah, in Japan, Geo smokes everybody. 2D and throw are big, but they nerfed knockdown time for a lot of characters too, and DPs are worse, so that helps her pressure too. Anji. Fujin, the crux of Anji's offense and its follow-ups have improved utility. Decrease in recovery of Fujin makes it harder to punish on block. We'll see how much, though. It's very negative now, so we'll see how negative it is. Easier to maintain the offensive after the opponent blocks Shin, Ichi, Shiki, and Rin. Decreased startup, making it a better mix-up tool. So Rin being faster is nice for mix-ups. It also might make his combo potential better, right? Movement speed of Shitsu decelerates near the corner. Yeah, this is a buff a bunch of characters got, which is that your projectiles will not just travel all the way through fast into the corner. They slow down. So universal change, close S, better on block, universal change. Far S, faster startup, very nice, and better hurt box. That's a huge buff. His far slash is a good far slash, but it's slow. It's 12. So having it be 11 or 10 is big. If it's 10 and he can punish gold bursts, that's juicy. Same thing with 2S. Reduced attack startup, reduced frontal hurt box, no longer encounters the hit state after the active frames end. Those are both juicy buffs. Both of his far slash and 2S are excellent pokes. Standing H, force into crouching state on grounded counter hit, which means he has more frame advantage, right? Jumping P and jumping K are universal changes. Jumping H also gives you more height, and then horizontal blowback is lower, which means he can maybe use jump H in a juggle or get close slash after if he's getting you in a weird angle. Jumping D has more hitbox and hurtbox, so it goes a little farther. Shitsu deaccelerates when it's close to the corner, so you can maybe do like close slash OTG butterfly or something, or you can throw butterfly in the corner more often, which butterfly is very strong. Fujin, reduce recovery by how much? Who knows? Fujin charge, increased attack level, juicy. And no longer launches opponent on grounded hit, which means he has better routes, right? Because He should also be able to do Rin now too. It's less corner carry, but more damage. If you do Fujin and it counter hits them and you hop and they're crouching when they get hit by Fujin, you still get 2S, 2H, right? That combo's on crouching. You might even be able to do it on standing, right? If you have counter hit slowdown. There's almost no chance Rin doesn't work, right? Well, let's get into that. So this is higher attack level on Fujin P, which is nice for him too. It means that he actually has some hit stun and potentially more block stun to play with. Nagiha has increased attack startup, so it's slower actually. That's weird. I don't know why it's slower. It doesn't change punishing it, and it doesn't change much else unless Fujin into Nagiha cannot be a true block string. Which, who knows, because they reduced the recovery on Fujin. It probably will still be the same, though, Fujin and Nagiha, even if it's slower. But who knows? Anyway, the next thing is the big one, which is Rin. Rin has reduced attack startup, so it's faster. It has reduced recovery. It's safer. Depletes less risk level. Decreased combo blowback scaling for combos with Rin as a starter. Causes less wall break value gain. Bounces the opponent lower with decreased horizontal blowback distance. The assumption about Rin is like pretty important, right? Can you do Fujin regular hit confirm Rin? Is it fast enough for that? Rin is the overhead. That is really nice. If not, then it's probably your confirm on charge Fujin, or you just do it on counter hit again, and then maybe you get better hits. If it's regular hit Fujin into Rin, his routing is probably much better, right? Because that means you can confirm far slash Fujin or far slash 5H Fujin into Rin. We'll have to see though. I think slower Nagiha, people are saying the idea is that it's harder to guess between Rin and Nagiha. That could be true. I'm not exactly sure. It might change the fuzzy timing though a bit, or make it harder. It also depends on how safe Fujin is. If you can just do Fujin, he's like -7 or 8 or something, or 10 even. It's a lot better than what it is now. The Ko change, they did this to a bunch of moves, but it's pretty funny. Decreased damage of the second hit, right? Ko second hit is a juicy hit. And then the opponent can now recover after landing. So Ko, that is bad. I think losing the damage, like, okay, he does ham damage when he hits you. But the opponent can now recover after landing is brutal. That's way more important. Because right now, Anji's primary thing is that he confirms like stuff like close slash 2H on crouch. Or he confirms into Ko mid-screen, right? And after he does Ko mid-screen, he lands, and then he does Butterfly. And Butterfly is like his Oki there, right? Not getting that now means, yeah, he has no good knockdown to do Butterfly off of from Ko, which is pretty bad. Unless he can now somehow route off of it with like jumping H or some other change, or jumping P or jumping K or something. Maybe he can do like Ko air dash H or something and be fine, but losing Butterfly Oki off Ko is pretty big. Even if you can just do like regular hit Fujin, Rin, Butterfly, that might be fine. It's actually way less damage though. So you probably don't even want to do that. You probably just want to do Rin into a combo. Butterfly is really strong, I think, but nerfing it like that is weird. It's like one of the best things he has. Yeah, I'm not so sure. Maybe these changes are great. It really depends on how much better Fujin is and how much better Rin is. If he can do far slash Fujin Rin on regular hit, that's great. I do think though the buffs to his pokes are also humongo. If this character has a 10 frame far slash that goes into Fujin Rin on regular hit, like bro, where in the change list would it let him do far slash Fujin? You gotta check out the last patch. That's 1.17, I think. So, Ino changes. This character, again, she really, I think, suffers usually in most games. If she's not going to be good, a lot of times it's because there are matchups that just are rough for her archetype. Yeah, like in this version of the game, and I suspect this won't change, by the way, if your character has good options against her movement and challenging how she approaches, then it's probably not going to be great for her. And if your opponent does not have that, then it's probably going to be hard for you to deal with her, right? That's like normally, that's kind of like her thing. So like a character like Happy Chaos, it's sort of hard to make a design like that not good against Ino. Like he's just gonna be good against Ino. What she gets is always nice for her in lots of matchups, but then there's also lots of characters who don't care about it or who are naturally bad about it, right? That's just how she is. She specializes at all kinds of stuff. She's got more options from far range now. Nice. Additional projectile range for Chemical Love makes it easier to hit opponents. I wonder how far it hits. Aerial Note now has a different utility in the grounded version due to the increase in movement speed of the projectile. Stroke was incredibly powerful for continuing offense. Heavy Stroke. This capability has been reduced by increasing its recovery while maintaining its speed and reward on hit. So let's see here. Air Dash and air backdash can now be altered by hitting up and down. That is juicy. Her air movement is already quite strong. It might help her in a lot of matchups. Not just like matchups where it's hard for her to move like Happy Chaos, but it could help her in basically any matchup with finding the right approach, right? Because empty movement option in his stroke is very scary. Crouching P is faster. You love to see it. Crouching K is a universal change. Close S, again, universal change, making it better on block. Reduced attack startup on 2S, making it faster. That probably makes empty hover to 2S even better. Jumping P and K are universal changes, makes it easier to combo with them. And air to air, it's probably pretty nice for her. Jump P, jump P, jump P, dive. Note, trajectory is now easier to alter with up or down in the air. Projectile now appears even when the move is roam and canceled at an earlier point than before, so you can RC it early. Fixed a bug where it would sometimes remain on screen longer than intended. Aerial version, increase the mobility speed of the projectile, increase recovery. So more recovery, but the note from full screen is faster. And that combined with Chemical Love, which has more active frames, so that her full screen options to try to contest characters who are zoning her are better. Usually her weakness is characters who can sit outside of her range and her movement options and just not let her approach. Stroke, the heavy version, more recovery. So right now it's slightly plus, right? Is it +2 or +3? And it's worse on block. So it could be 0. It could be +1. It could be -1. It could be -2. Who knows? Increased stagger duration. So it's better on hit and decreased knockback on hit. So the move is worse as like a I'm plus now move, but better when it lands and better for confirming after. Probably pretty nice. Yeah, you probably always get 6H without having to do the hard combo or whatever, which is pretty cool. Sultry Performance, heavy version. Final hit during the active frames now has the same properties regardless of the number of hits. This is her dive, right? They made it more consistent. More startup on super. Aerial super can no longer land as the move comes out. Oh, canceling her own super. That does happen sometimes, yeah. So they didn't call it a bug fix, but essentially that's what happened, right? When you try to do air super, sometimes she would land and it would like cancel her air super, so she wouldn't get the plus frames and the super wouldn't come out. The increased attack startup, you know, it's funny, I saw Eno players like, why would they nerf my super? Why do I, a struggling Eno player fighting for my life, get nerfs on my super? Bro, read the fucking patch notes. The universal change. Anyway, also, to talk about Eno, I think she really benefits from the dash changes as long as they work correctly for this character. If she can do close slash and 5k hover dash, I think that's like so buff for this character. I imagine the H stroke change is because everything else about her pressure is so much better. That's probably why it's like this. I mean, we'll see when the patch comes out, but that's what it seems like, right? Goldlewis. All right. We've almost made it to all my non-soul characters. Goldlewis is now capable of more powerful offense and neutral due to the changes of some of his normals, including standing H and jumping D. I gotta say, standing H is kind of whack, and so is 6H. Them buffing those moves does not give me much confidence. As well as buffs his projectiles such as Thunderbird and Burn It Down. Due to the increase of movement speed and momentum for 6H, it's extremely potent when canceled into Behemoth Typhoon. Properties of Thunderbird vary depending on security level. All right, let's check it out. So 6P hits lower to the ground. Maybe it actually hits on the ground. That would be pretty nice. Crouching K, this is a universal change. Reduce recovery. Close S, more plus. You love to see it. Far S now moves forward. What? They gave him an advancing 10 frame far slash? They were like, you know, you don't have to play soul anymore. I'm like, go off, king. Reduce frontal hurtbox. Hell yeah, I'll take it. Standing H, expanded frontal hitbox. Who cares? Standing H change probably does not matter. What do you want me to do with standing H? This shit is slow. 6H, increased movement speed, now maintains momentum. So dashing 6H is a thing. I don't know. This could be good, but I don't know. Maybe Kara's from it, yeah, but it's not great right now. It's just you don't hit this button very often. Jumping P and Jumping K are universal changes. Jumping S, reduced frontal hurtbox. I cannot believe this is not hitbox. Jumping S is an absurdly brawlic jump button. Jumping D, reduced frontal hurtbox, reduced attack startup. I cannot believe they buffed Jumping D. Of all the things they could buff for this character, I truly thought buffing his jabs and buffing like his 2S or something would make sense. I do not know why they buffed Jump D when it's already like his best poke. Pentagon Order Soul, it's true. I really do not understand how this move got buffed. Thunderbird, delay the timing of the security level reset. It's common change. Recovery now varies depending on the security level, assuming level 1 is how it is currently and 2 and 3 give him better levels. Clash level now varies depending on the security level. Projectile now deaccelerates when close to the corner. That's a great change, so it doesn't fly off into the corner. Active frames now extend after connecting with the opponent. Decrease horizontal blowback to make it easier, right? Except for the final hit, so you can combo in the middle of the drone without it getting sent flying away, which is a good change. Right now, it's kind of hard to do. Timing of the hitbox when no longer disappears if Goldlewis takes damage after firing the projectile now varies depending on the security level. So I saw a lot of people saying, oh my god, Goldlewis is broken. The drone doesn't go away when he gets hit now? It never has. That's not what this changes. I think this means when he does the drone, if he's higher on security level and he gets hit during the startup of it, it will probably stay faster if he gets hit on higher level. No, this sentence is fucked up. It's not your fault. Remove the set distance when opponent is required for the final hit to connect. Opponent can no longer recover after landing. Getting drone hard knockdown. That's you love to see. Skyfish delayed the timing and the security level reset, so no other change to minigun. Down with the system when blocked midair. The opponent now lands more quickly than before. This is to make supers more punishable as a universal change. Burn it down has reduced recovery and increased attack level. I'm not using this shit. I don't care. But cool, I guess. Can't make me use this shit. I'm using the drone. Burn it down's whack, but I'll try it, I guess, in some matchups. Yeah, I mean, these changes to Goldlewis seem pretty nice. They don't actually seem tremendous to me. Of the characters that are not as strong, his changes are not as brawlic as some characters sound to me. But then, like, at the same time, honestly, the far slash change and jump D change and Kara BT potentials could be incredible. I think, like, he could end up being very strong. He still has some of the same weaknesses. So it's hard to say. The far slash change sounds like the best change to me. And the drone, maybe. I'm, like, usually very positive about how Goldlewis is. So those are the two things that seem the best for me. Alrighty, Jacko. Due to the increase to the initial servant gauge level, this is a good change. Jacko has more freedom to use servants in neutral or combos right after the round start. Yeah, I don't know why they didn't give her gauges at the beginning of the round. Give her some gauge to work with. Throw servant after servant's hit by servant shoot would often lose against other projectiles despite requiring more steps to activate. This has been improved by increasing the clash levels. So servant gauge, increased value at round start. That's nice. Crouching P, reduced attack startup. Standing K has less recovery. That's very good. It's already a good poke, I think. Crouching K is reduced attack startup. What? Reduced recovery and decreased knockback. Her 2K is already incredible. I cannot believe that. Why above 2K? It's like already so good. I'm pretty impressed. That button is going to be real esports in this version. Close S, reduced recovery. System change everybody got. Pretty common. Crouching H, decreased horizontal blowback distance, making it more easy to combo off of. Sweep has less startup. Her sweep is already really good. Her reward off of it is also good for the most part. And it's pretty hard to poke against unless you have a strong attack that hits lows quite well. Jumping P and jumping K are universal changes. Jumping H is another one. Jumping D can be jump canceled and air dash canceled. That's a projectile. Can be canceled into a special move. That's also very good. Can now be canceled into a finishing blow during a homing jump, making your dust routes better. Also very good. I know 2K 2D was not consistent, but so was the rest of the cast. That is why I mentioned that Crouching K has decreased knockback. This is a universal change to make that more consistent. When you say my character's 2K 2D doesn't combo consistently, I assume you mean you play Guilty Gear Strive, because it's like that for every character. Throw Servant, reduce recovery, which is quite good. Increase clash level, so it beats projectiles. Release Servant, all versions. Made the timing of the tension gauge increase upon special move activation faster, so I assume it allows you to build meter quicker. And reduce recovery on setting the Servant down, or Recover Servant, right here, and let's not release Recover. Recover Servant when lifting a Servant. Made the timing of the tension gauge increase happens faster. Attack Command, reduced attack startup and recovery. I cannot believe they made attack faster. I'm kind of surprised. I wonder if this means contesting minions when they get thrown is just harder. Does she even need this? Is this like a change that's like hella good? Same change with the tension gauge there. Attack Command when lifting a Servant now deals damage, which is really funny. Defend Command increases the time window during which the servants can withstand attacks, so larger parry window, and expands the servant's hitbox. So she's got a bigger hitbox when she tries to counter, which I think is nice. It's quality of life stuff, right? Defend Command made the tension gauge for countdown. No other change to countdown, by the way, which is the explosion, right? Serve and shoot. This is the kick, yeah? Kick is increased active frames, reduced recovery. I wonder if that means like kick into pull is like really good. No change to frame advantage though, but that sounds quite strong. And increased clash level of the servant, also very good. Shooting the little minion. Aerial servant shoot, reduced deceleration, expanded hitbox and hurtbox. Sometimes she tries to do like jump carry or whatever into it and like it doesn't hit, or jump whatever button into it. It doesn't hit. Making that more consistent feels probably pretty good. And Elysian driver. Servants are now recovered immediately upon activation, which means she probably can get her gauge back a little faster, right? Overall, I mean, it sounds like nice quality of life changes to Jacko. Lets her reset easier. Her attacks are a little faster. I think making her servant toss better is really important, because if her neutral is just better, that's like such a nice change, because her offense when she gets going is incredibly good, and her defense is always going to be a weak point, but they buffed her 2K anyway, so it's fine. Starting with gauge means she has more gauge throughout the match, and then also having more consistent 2K 2D servant toss sandwich from like most ranges and better sweep in general is also very good for her. If she's going to be pulling minions and throwing them, like, it should probably not be so much weaker than a character who's just like projectile. But she, I think, got a lot of good changes. Happy Chaos. Okay. Amount of concentration depleted now varies depending on the distance between Chaos and the opponent. It's more difficult than before to continually use fire from long range. You get less concentration when you're far away. On the other hand, he can now use powerful strings at close range while expending less concentration. So his pressure, they said, all right, well, if you're going to shoot, you're going to have to spend super, and you're not going to be as consistent at holding resources. But if you're up close, you can have more concentration. Why not? The sight now targets the opponent when they block at the ready, which is the gun flip, meaning he can now maintain his offense more effectively, and fire can be used during the newly added dash cancels. He can now easily approach from mid-range. So he gets dash cancelable 5k. His 5k is brawlic as fuck, by the way. The amount of concentration depleted when readying the gun varies depending on the distance with the opponent. The implication here is that when he's up close, he will gain more concentration, right? Like it's like way less. So when he's pressuring you, he can actually pressure for longer, but his zoning is more resource intensive. Crouching P is faster. They buff 2P. That's ham. Crouching K, same universal change. Close slash, same universal change. Far ass has more knockback, so it pushes you farther. Reduced recovery, so it's better on block and stuff. I mean, right now it's pretty bad, but he just cancels in a gunshot anyway. And increased movement speed. 2S, expanded upper hitbox and hurtbox. So a little easier to poke with 6P maybe, or a higher poke, so it doesn't just smoke all your far slashes, a little bit easier. Jumping P and Jumping K are universal changes. Jumping 2K has reduced attack startup. It's faster. Reduced recovery after connecting with opponent. And decreased height of bounce after connecting. Probably supposed to mean it's easier for you to challenge, but at the same time, he can land and do mix-ups and stuff, right? So Jump 2K sounds like it's going to be very scary. At the ready is the gun flip. Less recovery. So right now, it's like 0 on block. So reduced recovery means it's now plus on block, and he's in gun stance, which sounds like his pressure is better on gun flip. Now depletes more risk level, increased combo blowback scaling, increased combo blowback scaling of combos at the ready, now causes more wall break value. This is a big change. This is really a really big buff. It's an Arc System Works patch. You really thought that they weren't going to nerf Soul and then buff / nerf Happy Chaos instead? Come on, guys. Fire. Hitbox now disappears when Chaos takes damage. This is to prevent the trades that happen sometimes, right? Decreased knockback. Fire during steady aim does less damage, so he's doing less damage on steady aim shots. Steady aim made the timing of the tension gauge increase changed, which is pretty common. Reduced recovery after exiting stance with 236S. Reload now is counter hit state until the end of the animation. I don't think this matters at all. Reload recovers so fast, I don't think it matters. Focus made the timing of the tension gauge increase change. Roll can now fire sooner than before and increase movement speed, so they buffed roll. Scapegoat increases health depletion on activation. This is a good change. And properties now vary when activated at low health. I'm assuming it's worse at low health, because right now you can spam it endlessly when you have no health. And Curse. Effect now ends when Chaos takes damage, which is a good nerf, and made the timing of the tension gauge change. So Happy Chaos overall got nerfs and will probably remain one of the strongest characters, yeah. I think the Curse change is big, and I think the concentration change makes his zoning worse. But it sounds like his pressure overall is probably similar to or better than before. His damage is also lower. So, yeah, I mean, the character is going to be, I think, quite scary. Roll also will probably be a real mix-up option now. It's faster. If your character died to the zoning, then it's probably slightly easier. But otherwise, I think he's going to remain very strong. It really depends on the character. Anyway, as expected, Happy Chaos did not get nerfed incredibly hard. It was just like some nerfs, some buffs. Baiken. I don't know what the fuck they did. I gotta say, I think of all the characters I play, Baiken might be the strongest character in this version, is my initial reaction. They really went ham with these changes, okay? Let's just go down. Standing P is faster. What? It's already 5 frames. They gave her a 4-frame normal? Word. Crouching K is a universal change. 6K momentum now remains when canceled. So she slides forward still off of 6K. That's a big change, along with the change she got to Tatami, which expanded frontal hitbox of the strike, I think means that her 6K will now more consistently combo into Tatami. So 5K or 5P into 6K into Tatami will now combo from far away. That is a big problem she has. That was the biggest quality of life combo or thing I wanted with her. It was the biggest reason I didn't like playing her. Close S, common change. Far slash, reduced attack startup. It's 10 frames. They gave her a 9-frame far slash. Reduced frontal hurtbox. What the fuck? They made her far slash better? I don't really know why. Her far slash was honestly one of the best far slashes in the game. And 2S, reduced recovery. And then reduced frontal hurtbox. I wonder if 2S 2H jails or like it's a frame trap all the time, because I don't think it is right now, right? These are big changes. Her pokes are already incredibly strong. 2H no longer hits opponents more than a set distance apart, and reduced upper hurtbox. So above her, maybe it's a little bit easier. She has an issue where her 2H, I think the biggest thing is her 2H will lose to moves like Ram's Far Slash. And that shit feels bad because like it looks like it should go under. I wonder if that's what it's supposed to be there for. Jumping P and Jumping K are universal changes. Tatami, they made the change to the air stuff and then also has a better hitbox, right? And same thing, aerial Tatami, expanded back hitbox of the projectile during descent. This means defensive air Tatami is much stronger, right? They gave it a better hitbox, which it's not a bad option now. I think it's pretty good, but making it even better means it's harder to approach on her. That makes her more annoying and more defensive. I love it. Kabari S version, increased attack startup, so it's slower, but reduced recovery. It's 0 on block, which means she now has a plus on block tether with a 4-frame jab and a 6k of that combo. Increased knockback on grounded hit. The tether no longer pulls the opponent in during the animation. I'm not really sure why they made it plus. She might have lost some of her routes. I wonder if she cannot do 2H counter hit Kabari, or if she can do 6H counter hit Kabari into routing. Maybe she can't do close slash. I'm not sure. She can probably adjust her routes though instead. Maybe 5P 6H or something. Anyway, Kabari H version now activates afterwards, now less affected by combo blowback scaling. The follow-up got some big changes, which is triggers counter hit effect, and blowback direction now matches the direction Baiken is facing. Expanded the lower hitbox, so you can't low profile it. Like Anji can hit 2D and low profile Kabari follow-up. So it probably meant so that Anji can't do that. You have to hit 6P like other characters, or other characters who could low profile, which there's a few. No longer in counter hit state after the active frames then. No longer hits opponent when more than a set distance apart. Increased recovery on block. It's probably punishable now, right? Because it's -3 currently. So they might have made the follow-up like -5 or something so that characters could actually get a better punish. Because right now it's like kind of spammable to just do the follow-up and it's -3 and it's like really hard to punish unless you IB and throw it. Yozansen has reduced landing recovery, increased damage. What? Hiragi, reduced recovery after successful parry and when unsuccessful. So it's got better recovery if it whiffs, and she has more time to run up and meet you if it connects, which are both really big. And then this super got the same change that every other super got. She is really strong. The only thing that's even slightly bad sounding is the follow-up being unsafe, which is like, you can still space this out. And then the second thing is Kabari routes potentially being a little worse. Okay, next character, Testament. Our final character, we made it, chat. This is a long road, huh? Testament. Also, let me just go on record and say, I think Testament is good in this version of the game. Everybody thinks Testament's miserable, like so bad. But I don't know. I think unless you're fighting Ram, this character is pretty good. Like, not top tier, obviously, but this character's fine. With that being said, this character is going to be fucking fun as hell in this next version. So, moves such as Grave Reaper, the Fireball, have been strengthened, and there are many situations where Testament could not fully launch an offensive in both neutral and on the opponent's wake up. Situation after landing the strike hit of the S version of Grave Reaper, so when you're close, has been improved, and it's easier to land Unholy Diver, that's the bird, as a media attack. Both aerial and ground versions of Heavy Reaper have less attack startup and are easier to use in combos and strings. That is so good. Faster H Grave Reaper on the ground it means you can clash with other projectiles and then put it on the air so that you can shoot the bird in that direction or teleport there very fast. And then it means you can shoot the air version also very quickly. Unholy Diver now causes less blowback on aerial hit, making it easier to follow up on, which means you can combo like 5k and then your stay in state and then whatever. Creates an opportunity to deal damage while also getting more corner carry. It's very useful. Or you can even do 5k, air dash, jump H, whatever. Crow. Fixed the bug with Crow where it would sometimes not behave as intended after a wall break. Yeah, it could bug out on you. Air dash has shortened dash time, adjusting the value to match other characters, so making it more consistent. This is a bug that a bunch of characters got. Standing K is reduced recovery. What? Standing K is already... I'm surprised about this. Crouching K, decreased knockback, reduced attack startup. Crouching K is already an incredibly good move. Hurt box and hitbox is excellent, and it's like an esports. This is an esports move. This move is so hard to poke against, especially because when you're in Stain, this is a launcher. Like, all right, I can't believe they buffed the lights on this character because the lights are already so good. Close S, reduced recovery is a universal change. You love to see it. Far S, reduced attack startup, reduced recovery, reduced frontal hurt box. So far slash, which is a better poke in all ways. And same thing with 2S, reduced attack startup, reduced frontal hurt box. You love to see it. They just made every poke for this character just better. 5H has reduced recovery. It probably will not impact that much. Maybe actually though, I wonder if this means media 5H is good. The 6H change, decreased horizontal blowback distance, easier to combo off, reduced attack startup. I think 6H is actually a very good button already. Like, I don't know how much faster it's going to be. And so this also means that 5k 6h will be more consistent. And I think this button is going to terrorize people. 6h is really good. Because if someone is just swinging to beat your 6h, so many options are good against it. Like 2h and 2s are excellent. Or raw fireball. All punish all the options to beat 6h. These are universal changes. This is another change that a lot of character got. Grave Reapers activates on upwards input, which is a normal thing. Succubus remains on screen longer, which is really nice. It means you don't have to throw Crow quickly. And that's great. Just having more time to teleport and Crow is super nice. Grave Reaper on the ground has frontal hitbox and hurtbox is bigger. I wonder if this means poking against the fireball is easier or if it's going to be harder. Because expanded hurtbox means easier to hit it, but more hitbox forward might mean it's harder to like mash on far slash into Grave Reaper. S version now launches the opponent higher, so if you get a confirm that's like close slash 2D Grave Reaper, and then I think you can probably run up and do 5k 6h more consistently. And S Fireball in general, probably, if like 5h S Fireball, you can get more stuff. H version has a lower hitbox when it comes out, and expanded the back of the hitbox on the S version of the projectile so that you don't get smoked up close. Sometimes when you're retreating with this, you get hit. H Grave Reaper, all heavy versions, reduced attack startup, which is also very nice. Unholy Diver is the bird. It launches the opponent higher, means it's easier to combo off of. It has less horizontal blowback too. Increased active frames after the Succubus transformation. So as it like slides out and turns into the Succubus at the end, it's easier to hit people, which means it's easier to meaty with, right? Really nice. Expanded the hitbox after the Succubus transformation, which means fireball into that thing is like boom, and you're chilling. The Crow will now always fly forward in a straight line when the button is held. This is imagine throwing the fireball and then someone jumps and you just shoot the Crow in the air. Oh man, that is sick. And also it being out longer means you can just do more with the Crow while the Succubus is on the screen. This activates even after upwards input, reduce recovery on Arbiter Sign. It's pretty whack how bad the fucking recovery is. Like I hit you with Arbiter Sign and then like I just get nothing. I'm like, oh, okay, I guess we're neutral. Especially like when you wall splat with it, it feels just awful. Nostrovia, this is a great change. Initial hit bounces higher with decreased horizontal blowback. The super will hit the first hit and then drop the rest a lot. You love to see it. Calamity 1, when blocked midair, you land faster. Right? This is the other super. These are all really good changes for Testament. Everything in neutral is better for this character. It's absurd. It's funny because every non-Soul character I play got so many cool buffs, and then Soul got smoked by comparison. When you look at the changes to like Happy Chaos or like I don't know, so many of the other strong characters, Zato, I'm like, damn. Soul will probably still be pretty good, I think, but like, I think he's going down a bit for sure. It's funny because I play Goldlewis, Baiken, and Testament the most. I don't play that much Soul this patch. So I was like, you know, it's going to be great when this patch comes out and I can play some more Soul. And now I'm like, all right, well. I think I'm going to play some more Testament and Baiken. Play some Goldlewis. Yeah, well, anyway, I've been talking about the patch notes for 3 hours and 45 minutes. Quick summary of the patch notes. We have to see the system changes to know for sure, but my initial impressions is that the big winner to me seems like Zato. Kai also. Kai and Zato strike me as big winners initially. I don't know who else. Baiken also. Yeah, Baiken and Millia. Those characters all seem pretty good. Happy Chaos. Yeah, Happy Chaos. It's weird. I don't know why they didn't like Soul so much, but it's fine. He was not to those characters' levels in the last version. You know that, right? You know he was not. Like the top 3 characters in the game, by most people, are Happy Chaos, Ram, and Leo. So when you look at those other characters that are better or potentially in similar levels, his changes seem strange. I've been playing characters who are weaker because I think they're more fun than Soul. And now they seem like they're not only going to be more fun, but they're also probably going to be better, which is a shame.